Bell Sheer Vestige, as Nick says, is the map. Looks like in our bottom right corner, we are going to have our red Protoss. He showed some amazing control last game against the Cannon Rush of eNtitY. It is PalaDiN.
And in the top left, we have the blue Protoss, who took a chance last game, tried something ballsy, tried something quick, didn't quite pan out. We'll see what he tries this time. It is eNtitY.
This is a very large map. A couple watchtowers in the center are pretty critical, but it helps you to see any of the movements around the outside.
Now it's interesting to note that we had mentioned before that we were talking to eNtitY during our brief intermission between the previous best of 5 and the current best of 5, and we had been encouraging him to do a cannon rush and the benefits of such a strategy, and now it didn't pan out for him. So
I take no blame for this.
He's going to come asking you to pay the
I
difference.
didn't tell him what to do.
But
I just suggested
you
that someone in general do a cannon rush, because they've been doing these really strong builds, alternating with each other, and High Templar, Stargate, High Templar on the other side, and it's been some really interesting games. But that definitely threw a wrench in the typical links there. That cannon rush by eNtitY. It did put him down a game, but it was interesting.
I'm pretty sure that if eNtitY loses this tournament, it's going to be all your fault.
Hey, I'm the caster. All I can do is observe. I can't direct. Nope.
You can suggest.
PalaDiN going around doing that, checking, sees eNtity's probe coming in, continuing to spot for his typical pylons. eNtity's going to come into PalaDiN's base, see the gateway, see the second pylon going down, second gas completing, eNtity doing the same thing, 3 workers in each gas as opposed to his somewhat occasional 2. Cybernetics core going down for eNtity. Like the pylon of eNtity is moving around PalaDiN's base.
That is a miracle. eNtity's satisfied with what he's seen, doesn't want to lose that probe to the Zealot that's coming out, I guess. But he's going to go back to the Zelnaga Tower, claim it, get some vision.
Pretty much identical things coming out of each player now. Pylons, probes, stalkers, and warp gate.
PalaDiN taking one last look before getting out of dodge, because that Stalker is getting chrono boosted out.
Looks like eNtity was actually, PalaDiN was chrono boosting it. It does keep throwing me off, because now every time I see blue, I want to say PalaDiN. I get so used to this. It's a rough life.
It's hard. Hard job, but somebody's got to do it.
It is. Probes moving around, doing things, building stuff. Twilight Council going down for eNtitY, as I pause to verify I say the correct name.
And we have a robotics facility on the opposite side of the map in the PalaDiN camp.
It's quite a camp, isn't it?
It is quite a camp.
I'd pitch tent there.
I think that you'd be underdressed in a camp that looks like that if you pitched a tent. eNtity coming forward to put one of his pylons, looks like. Waiting for the minerals.
Both players still doing similar things. Dark Shrine coming down for eNtity now, right next door to the Twilight Council. Will be a good play. Looks like PalaDiN hasn't really done much with the old Robo facility yet.
He did get an observer out, which is going to be very useful with those Dark Templar.
Find where that observer went.
It's on top of the ramp. Right to the right. There you go.
Trying to find it, but it wasn't coming up. Mothership 4 comes out and makes a quick juke back and forward. It's like the 2 Stalker Sentry going to come out, and with that pylon, the Dark Templar Shrine is going to be finishing up. He's likely going to be warping in some Dark Templar.
One would think. One would think.
He's going to have a gateway also finish up. like the way you think.
I like the way you think.
I like the way you think.
Well, okay then.
A second reinforcement pylon going down just in case the first one wasn't enough, and it's a little farther away. 2 Dark Templar coming up. That observer is right there. These are going to get shut down. Waits to go damage, but CDC shot. Force Field goes down. That Dark Templar has the ability to do nothing. PalaDiN feeling real himself right now, and eNtity's like, well,
Zealot. No, he's going to make
more Dark Templar.
More Dark Templar for Archon.
Oh, Archon. Okay, that makes better sense. I was hoping that he wasn't just going to walk 2 more in there.
Here we go.
Didn't work the first time. Let's try it again. Although it is interesting, Archon, since it does do that splash damage, if you know where that observer is, you could, say, attack this Zealot right here where that is, and the splash damage would actually do damage to that observer. More Dark Templar down here for Archon. So it looks like he's going to try and make a really quick Zealot Archon Stalker Sentry push.
eNtitY, tired of playing these long drawn-out battles, he's trying to close up games a little bit sooner.
It does look like he's not really going with... I think he intended to chrono boost his gateway, but instead he chrono boosted his cybernetics core.
But he's going in for the push, leading with the Archon.
Zealots come up and pass. Well, that Archon is able to soak up a little bit of damage.
Photon Overcharge goes down on the Nexus.
Nice force field to protect that Immortal as the Archon steps up and takes some damage. It looks like this is not going to go so well for eNtitY.
But 4 Zealots come in to reinforce, and he's making gains, walking straight up the ramp.
Getting a nice surround around those units. Photon Overcharge is going to wear off here in a few seconds. Does clean up all his units as he moves into the main. Out of the range of Photon Overcharge, that Archon is getting low on shields as he doesn't have much hit points, but he moves back, and that splash damage is just wrecking on those Zealots.
4 more Zealots in production for eNtitY. 3 Stalkers come out for PalaDiN.
Photon Overcharge has expired on the Natural Nexus. He is going to come back and rally up with his fellow Zealots here and decide whether he's going to go back in again. It looks like he is, as he has not expanded, so he's really committing to this attack.
Didn't quite get that Archon out of there, so he warps in 2 DTs to make another one. And 2 more to make another one.
Now let's note also that if eNtitY gives up this game, this is going to be a victory for PalaDiN.
That is true. Yeah, this is all or nothing at this point. Pushing forward the warping Archon so he can get in there faster.
PalaDiN does have an observer around eNtity's base, checking to see if he's got any expansion going down. Mothership Core participating in the battle. Looks like the second Archon shields are getting dangerously low. Pulls him back. Great micro.
Ah, but the Zealot chases him down.
This is not looking good for Mr. eNtitY. The Archon's shields are getting low. He's going to expire. 2 more Zealots coming in.
Not going to make much of a difference. Microing that Stalker.
It's been great control by both of these players here
Absolutely.
today. Looks like eNtitY going to pull back and make another Dark Templar. Those Dark Templar Archons are significantly more expensive than High Templar Archons. eNtitY does have a decent amount of minerals in the bank. He could choose to move out and do an expand and kind of back away from this if he wanted. But he would still be significantly behind PalaDiN. PalaDiN has 76 food, eNtitY at 40 almost. This is going to look kind of rough. Units lost is heavily in favor of
eNtitY.
eNtitY, actually.
Yeah.
PalaDiN has lost 4,100 worth of units, and eNtity's only lost 2,900. But
however,
the economy of PalaDiN is enough to...
Yeah, PalaDiN has about 20 more probes than eNtitY currently has.
eNtity's just kind of hanging out, trying to produce as many as... Again, it's going to be purely Zealot Archon at this point.
The army supply of PalaDiN is also doubling eNtity's.
The worker supply is almost double as well.
Mm-hmm. He's really got to make this work. He's got to make good trades here if he wants to pull this game out.
Those 2 Archons are going to do a lot of damage, but that sitting around that long made another Photon Overcharge available. PalaDiN is warping in more Zealots, and that's GG from eNtitY, and it is okay to confirm now that PalaDiN has come out and won this tournament. eNtitY showing a little bit of fatigue maybe in the last couple games with that cannon rush and an all-in. That's the only all-in we've seen out of these guys all tournament.
Yep.
So it's definitely going to be evidence of a bit of fatigue. But man, what a series between these guys. See a 5-game best-of-5 for the first round where PalaDiN comes and gives eNtitY his first loss of the tournament. And then eNtitY comes and does an all-in in Game 3.
Locking up the tournament. It definitely came down to an endurance match in terms of the number of matches played, as opposed to necessarily sheer skill. Not to say that PalaDiN is not a skilled player. That was incredible skill that he'd shown throughout the day, but it seems like his endurance was just a little bit longer than eNtitY's, evidenced by the types of games that we see those last 2 games taking.
Grayland says in chat, good showing by both of them though. Those games were epic, and that is not a lie at all.
No joke there.
It seems like we've watched a lot of games by these two, and I feel like I really have gotten to understand their play a bit. They're very versatile players. There's no one thing that they do.
Yep.
PvP is an interesting chess match, and they both maybe, I know it's not their favorite, but they both have found interesting ways to win games.
Absolutely. And constantly doing new things and trying new styles against one another. While it didn't work out for him, I did like the experiment with the Tempest. I like the experiment with the Cannon Rush. I like the experiment with the Dark Templar.
PalaDiN was just too quick to respond to that probe coming in and was able to stop him from getting that complete block in the back.
Mm-hmm.
Were they going to do a awards ceremony?
I believe that